do what I do.
The news this weekend, like many of you all, that our president, Donald Trump, authorized the strategic strikes of Iran's nuclear sites where they store their enriched uranium and where they are manufacturing or attempting to manufacture ICBMs, which is intercontinental ballistic missile systems, which they would use to deliver a nuclear payload. And so, it happened Saturday night. I believe they call it Operation Midnight Hammer. President Trump gave a press briefing about it. And, I think all of us who have been studying the progression of Iran's nuclear capabilities over the past 10, 15, 20, 30 years have recognized that this was something that was going to happen and needed to happen. And I say that is because Iran after 1979, or Iran after 1979, was taken over by Islamic extremists. Before 1979, Iran was considered the New York City of the Middle East. Women could be seen with their head out. There was no Sharia law. Their hair was out, as I was saying. They wore short skirts, just like the fashion was at the time. And it was after this, this extreme version of Islam came into power, these leaders, that they reinstituted what we see now as Sharia law. And, they became instantaneously enemies of America, apparently, even though prior to that, we were actually considered allies. And the thing is, and I'm having this conversation because this is a repeat conversation that I had with my sons over breakfast yesterday. We basically empowered Iran, and we preferred them over what was at that time communism, which we thought was our biggest threat. Even in the war in Vietnam, the reason we invaded South Vietnam to protect it from North Vietnam was to undermine communism. And at that time, what the Soviet Union was trying to do, and that was try to spread communism. They had Cuba, you had the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had Vietnam, you had Iran, and this was the efforts that our government was taking at the time. And in the progression here we are now moving forward, you still have this Islamic regime, which has said death to America. They have specifically stated they want to remove Israel, the country of Israel, off the map. And irrespective of how you feel about anyone's particular religion, the idea that we would that any country would drop a nuclear bomb on any other country and kill innocent millions, and then we as a world would have to deal with the fallout of that, is just unacceptable at this point. The reason they call it a Cold War is because there was never any actual war. It was just a threat of war which kept people at bay. Now here's the thing. As I was having this conversation with my sons, I asked my oldest son, who will be 18 in approximately 21 days. I said, son, if they reinstituted the draft, would you go? And without hesitation, my oldest son said, yes, I would go. I would go defend my country. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, based on my assessment of this generation, I thought he was going to say something, oh, well, I'll go to Canada, or I'm not going to fight for this country. But my young son, my 17-year-old son, said without hesitation that I would go. I would go because I would have to go, and I would defend my country. Now, you can say what you want to say about that, and we all know the history of Black Americans in this country. And speaking of which, you need to understand something. My family is from Mississippi. My mother's side, my maternal side is from Mississippi. Long there. They moved to the east side of Los Angeles in, I guess, around about 1968. And I was born around 1974. I was born in 1974. And my father's side of the family, the man who I consider my father, the man who raised me, the man I'm named after, was from North Carolina, a small place called Enfield. My family on my mother's side is from Tutwiler, which is right outside of Clarksdale, Mississippi, where they were sharecroppers and some other things. We do have some very keen relatives. I always speak about my great-great-great-great-grandfather, G.W. Jones Jr., first one of the black men that helped found Nicodemus, Kansas. He was a lawyer. He was a graduate of HBCU. But I never often talk about my father's side of the family from North Carolina. But the truth is, and only recently I found out that my biological father is not the man that raised me and not the man I'm named after. But for the most part, what I'm saying is I am a foundational black American by culture and by genetics, you see? And so, and by history, and this is all I've ever known. So irrespective of who my biological father is, and many of us, if we begin to look into our heritage, you will see that sometimes grandma and mama and great-grandma was not quite forthcoming with the truth of who daddy was. Nevertheless, so I'm gonna set that aside to say that we are the most patriotic group of Americans that have ever stepped on this land. Black Americans, foundational black Americans, having been here before slavery. Because remember, slavery was a 1619 institution that popped up. But we occupied this land from the time Christopher Columbus discovered Hispaniola, and then subsequently other Europeans came and explored what is now the North American continent. We have been here since that time. We came with the Mayflower. We came with Christopher Columbus. Pedro Alonso Nina, a black man from West Africa, was the navigator for Christopher Columbus. The reason Christopher Columbus knew that there was a Western land, the New World, is because he learned it from the Africans. Abubakar II came, left the west coast of Africa, followed the trade winds, made his way down to Brazil with 400 ships, and made their way all the way up the east coast of the Western Hemisphere, past the Dominican Republic, all the way up to, I believe, Florida. You see? And Africans have been traversing what they called at that time the Ethiopian Sea for centuries prior to the first European coming. Nevertheless, we've been here. You understand? And I'm not saying that we were here in the numbers that we're here now, but we have had a presence on this continent. There's just historical, empirical evidence to show you that. The people that migrated across the Bering Straits from Siberia, who we often refer to as the Native Americans, the Native South Americans, those people were immigrants from Siberia. They made their way out of Africa, and over thousands and thousands of years, they made their way up through what is now Alaska, down into the North American, South American, Central American continent, and the Caribbean. Nevertheless, even the Vikings predated Christopher Columbus. And I say all that to say this, because, you know, I don't want to get too off. You all know I can ramble. Shout out to everybody who knows that Uncle D will tell a story, and I can ramble. Bottom line is, we've been here. We fought in every war. When I say we, I'm talking about foundational black Americans. We have fought in every war that this country... My name is Dennis Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas. My mandate is to be an advocate for black men.
Dennis Spurling, got the mic on fire.
I'm a black father, I have black sons.
Tune in, weekly feeling inspired. From the heart, real talking night. Every episode brings the light. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare.
My wisdom.
Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every
Cold outside, listen King coming.
drop some coins in the collection plate.
Alright, let me roll out.
Comment below, let's start the chat. Inside to wait. Dennis Spurling always first.
What's up? Welcome to the broadcast.
Hit the like, won't you dare? Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate.
Yeah, they pay so tricky. Some of y'all can't help it. Some of y'all can't help tricking. Some of y'all got a soft spot for her.
You enjoy the ride, come say hi. Catch the wave, don't pass by. Lifted spirits, always in sight. In this podcast, joy takes flight. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare? Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins in the collection plate.
Sharing and subscribing to the channel. I'm about to show you something.
You enjoy the ride, come say hi. Catch the wave, don't pass by. Lifted spirits always in sight. In this podcast, joy takes flight. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare? Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins in the
Hey man, I do what I do. You know that.
Your ass, class, don't come over here. You tall black mother. Women up inside. I don't give a fuck about